There's a global conversation taking place around how we're going to shape our future. The United Nations in 2015 released 17 Sustainable Development Goals. At MUA Insurance Acceptances, we see these 17 Sustainable Development Goals as a risk management tool for us to guide our business and our decision making, and also to consider how do we best partner with our business partners and how do we serve the needs of the high net worth clients whose risks we manage. This global conversation is a critical one for us to participate in because it directly affects South Africa, it directly affects the high net worth individuals who are decision makers and leaders in our country. For the brokers who provide these risk management solutions, their learning and development, education solutions, this is feedback that we've observed is critical in terms of their sustainability and their business continuity. So in 2020, we've embarked on a partnership with AC Develop to provide solutions that talk directly to the sustainability, not only of the industry, but can highlight the importance of the impact that if we collectively contribute to results that we do want to see together, then perhaps the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are achievable, not just for South Africa, but for the world.
I've often been asked about where all this regulation comes from. Where does the FSCA come up with the things that they bring about in terms of binder regulations, in terms of phase, fit and proper, TCF and various other pieces of legislation? And it's very often commented and thought that the majority of this all comes from the UK and that we just literally cut and paste what the UK does. But actually, and quite honestly, the whole issue is around sustainability and how do we make our industry and our economy in South Africa sustainable. South Africa is one of the G20 countries, and in order to remain as part of the G20, we have to subscribe to standards and to procedures and policy that answer to the G20 requirements. And therefore, we are monitored by the International Monetary Fund. So every time we get a little bit nervous about Standards & Poor's or Moody's and how they're going to rate our industry and our country as a whole, that is really showing how we benchmark against the global requirement in terms of the International Monetary Fund standards. And that really is where all this regulation and legislation comes from. So even in times past where South Africa has put forward what their regulation standards are, we've actually never really been on the top end of being totally over-regulated, as many brokers and insurers have thought in South Africa, but we've also never really been under-regulated. In fact, we predominantly on the scale sit much more to the middle in terms of those areas. Let's link that back to Sustainable Development Goals, because part of the United Nations, which governs the International Monetary Fund and various other organizations, have developed these Sustainable Development Goals. And what they really are trying to do is to set a process in place that helps us build a sustainable environmental governance process that leads and is supported by economics and leads to a better place for all. And in that way, we need to think carefully about how we manage, mitigate, and prevent risks from occurring, and we need to become far more involved in our risk management advice that we give to clients to help them prevent claims, to help them mitigate risks, and to make sure that they give back into the environment, into communities in a way that is sustainable for economic growth.